Right guys, so I've now got the engine casing down, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start swapping over these baffle plates from the old one into the new one. Once I've done that, then I'm going to get these main bearings, shells, swap them over, and then I'll get the main bearing shells swapped over from this side, and then we'll do some measurements and see what crack is. Alright. Right, so I've now got the baffle plate things in, and I've also put in the shell bearings from that other one. So I'm assuming that you can, because these shell bearings are matched to this crank, obviously I still need to measure them. I think I still need to put some of this plastic gauge stuff on them and measure it, but I'm guessing that because these shell bearings belong to this crank, then it's okay to put these bearings in this case. I'm assuming that, so whether that's right or not I don't know, I'll have to double check it. Right, so this now is at the stage where that old one was, so I'm going to put that old one somewhere else and I'll put this out of the way, and then I'll get the other half of the crankcase down and then start swapping this lot over. Right, I've now got the crank out and the starter clutch, but the first thing I should have got out was this, but I can't seem to get it out because that pin just won't come out, which is annoying. There's a little pin in there, you know, and I just can't seem to get it out. But at least with the crank out now, what I can do is I can put this on its side and see if I can just, and there's no way of getting it from this side because it's blanked off. So I need to take that off anyway, the chain guide, and these shells, I don't want to get them wrong, and then we'll just see if we can get this out. For some reason it isn't coming out, so back in two. Right, so what I'm doing now is I'm measuring the run out for the crank. I'm using the main central journal, and hopefully that needle will hardly move. Which is good. I have no idea what distance that is. It's moving 0.1 of a millimetre or something, so I need to check in the manual what the tolerance is. So what I'll do is I'll do that for each journal, and then if everything, I'm leaving these corners. I'm not going to take these off. What I'll do is I think you get a feeler gauge outside of them, so I'll do that, but I'm not taking these off, no way, because I just can't be bothered. So what I'll do now is I'll do it for each other journal, and then I'll start putting the crank back in the crankcase. So I've checked the three main journals, that, and they're all within spec. When it thingy, I think mine were about 0.01 mil out or something, so which is really good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure that. Now I am going to get some plastic gauge, I think, but I'm still going to measure as well with the micrometer, and we'll try it that way as well. So I've now measured the main journals, and I hope I've got this right. So journal 1 is 33.97, journal 2 is 33.99, journal 3 is 33.95, journal 4 is 33.98, and journal 5 is 33.98. So that's number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The reason number 1's at that end is because that's where the primary chain and the camshaft goes, there. So that journal there, so that one there sits there, but remember this engine's upside down, so when you turn it the right way around, this is number 1 cylinder as you sat on the bike. So that's journal 1, journal 2, journal 3, journal 4, journal 5. Also, the middle journal shell doesn't have a groove in. Can you see there's a groove in them? And a groove in that. The middle one doesn't have a groove in as well. So what I need to do now is I need to temporarily put the two halves together, and then what I can do then is I can get my thingies in, them in, and try and measure the diameter, and hopefully it's going to be bigger than 33.98. Hopefully. We'll see. Right, so I know that I'm measuring that correctly. I wanted to put the main 10 bolts in that go around the crank, but for some reason that one there is struggling to go in, and I think it's something to do with the hole, because that one there was originally going into that and it wouldn't go in. It was about that far from seating, so I took that one out and put it in there, and it's worked perfectly, so it can't be the bolt. And then the bolt that I took out of there, I tried to put in there, and it won't go down. So I think there's something in the hole down there, so I need to bear that in mind. It's number 4, so I need to bear that in mind. I need to have a look at that after I've done these measurements. So now I'm guessing that obviously plaster gauge would be better, because you'd put the crank in and you'd put a tiny bead of plaster gauge across there, and then you'd put the bolts in and torque it down, then you'd measure the thickness of the plaster seam. But I wanted to have a go at measuring, do you know what I mean, using tools that I've got. So that's together now, and you can sort of like, that's what it looks like down the where the crankshaft lives. Oh, hang on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and measure some of these. Right, so I've measured the number 1 journal on the crank, and I've measured the number 1 journal there, and if I've done it right, apparently the crank is 33.97 and the diameter using one of these is 34.08. So 34.08 minus 33.97 is 0.11, which I've set it on that just to show you. 0.11, and if you look at that, you can just see a gap. You can see it's probably me there's a tiny little gap that you can see through, but apparently the clearance needs to be between 0.020 and 0.044. So based on that, if I do 33.97 plus, let's go for the maximum, 44.044, that gives 34.01. Well, I'm sort of like, I've got 34.08, so I'm 0.07 bigger, aren't I? So I'm confused. obviously if I've done it right, then the gap is too big, isn't it? So I need to reassess the situation and see what the crack is. Right, I think I'll just get some of this plastic gauge stuff and try that, to be honest with you, because I need to double check this, don't I? Triple check it, whatever. And I'm not particularly confident in my measuring abilities, so I shall I'll get some plastic gauge stuff and we will continue when I've got some of that. So see you soon.